Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Adaptation. I am Jared Walters, the Blind Gamer, and this is Blind Man Plays. So, for those of you who've been following the Adaptation series, you will know I've been on a quest to find the good, the bad, and the ugly of licensed games. Are they good licensed games? They have games that are based on TV shows, movies, books, and other properties. And I'm looking across all platforms. For the first couple of videos we focused on the PlayStation 1, but now due to the results of a poll that I put up on the channel, we are moving our attention across to the Game Boy Advance, the little machine that could. I love the Game Boy Advance. It's basically like a souped up SNES in a really small container, and I love the Game Boy Advance SP because it was like a little flip phone and fitted nice and snugly in my pocket. So for the next 3 episodes we are focusing on the Game Boy Advance, and we're focusing on TV shows. So guys, this is Adaptation, and this is 12 Game Boy Advance games based off TV shows. Number 1, Batman Vengeance. Now this is based off the animated series, the Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill's Batman and Joker respectively. Opens up with a cutscene, the Joker's up to no good and Batman and Batgirl are on the case. Batman is basically walking across rooftops and dishing out punishment to thugs on his way to basically stop the Joker's evil plan. Now, everything works kind of really good for the first couple of levels. I really do enjoy the challenge of the platforming. I like the different gadgets. I like the way that, the levels are structured. It does present a bit of a challenge. I love the art style. The art style is bang on as far as it comes to representing the animated series. And even though you play on a handheld, you can still very much find yourself in that universe. You know you're in that universe, if that makes sense. My biggest gripe, and basically I couldn't get past it, was the Batmobile stage. It just felt hypnotic. It went on and on and on and on and on. It's kind of a thing with Batman games, isn't it? We love the Batmobile, but we don't necessarily love to drive it. Batman has these vehicles, and whenever they seem to be emulated on in some way in gaming, they never really seem to get it quite right. And I think it's because, it's cool to drive the Batmobile, but Batman basically just gets from A to B there. The real joy of being Batman is literally it's like an Arkham Asylum, when you're literally hunting out thugs and using your gadgets and finding different ways to dispatch them. At least that's basically it for me. So this is a decent Batman game, but it very much falls down when it comes to the Batmobile stages. Batman, Rise of Sin Tzu. Now, as the same with Batman Vengeance, this is an adaptation that was also available on other platforms, but also in 3D. I've played the Batman Vengeance on GameCube and PlayStation 2. I don't think I ever played the 3D version of Rise of Sin Tzu, but it was a while back. This version, now, I really enjoyed this. It's not the best Batman game on the system. That will go to Batman Begins, and when we do the based on movies videos, I will be covering that, because I really enjoyed Batman Begins. But this refines the same engine as Batman Vengeance. I like the fact that they've updated the graphics, but it still feels like it's part of the Batman animated universe, although a bit grungier. It's as if like sort of Batman's moved on a little bit. This is happening like after Batman Vengeance. I've got so far through it, and I haven't been plagued by any Batmobile stages yet, so I'm not sure if there are Batmobile stages in this game, but from what I've played so far, the combat is much more enjoyable, the use of the gadgets is much more enjoyable, and it seems to flow just that little bit faster. I would say this is definitely a case of taking what worked from the previous game and very much building upon it. I'd recommend both these games, but if you had a choice between them, personally I would go for this one. Sin Tzu is probably the most superior out of the two Batman games.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles! Turtles counting on 1, 2, 3, 4. Turtles! People chain reaction. Turtles! Living underground. It's just so action. Turtles! It's a shell of a town. Turtles counted off!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now this is based on the 2003 iteration of the cartoon. Now, I am very much a 1980s Ninja Turtles fan. I'll always be. It's just those memories are special to me. Especially playing in the arcades, the 1989 game. And I think that game, because it was such a groundbreaking game, not just in terms of adapting a television property or a comics property, but in beat-em-ups in general, there's very, very few games that were like it at its time. You're probably looking at comparisons with the likes of Double Dragon. It came up between the 1989 Turtles game came up before like Streets of Rage and Final Fight. So, very much ahead of its time, and it was fast-paced and it was action-packed. So I think it leaves a thing in people's memories where they kind of expect all the future games to live up to that hype. Now, does Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the Game Boy live up to the 1989 hype? No, it doesn't. But it is a fairly decent action platformer. Each turtle has their own storyline. There's different locations to explore. I like the fact that there's different types of levels. You've got like a 3D shooting level, and there's like skateboarding type levels, etc. And it really is quite fun. I've played through quite a bit of the game now, through different iterations of the Turtles and through the different stories, and it's not too laborious to go through the cutscenes. There's a nice sort of mixture there, and to be perfectly honest, I would say it's probably one of the better of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. I definitely would say this is worth a pickup. Just going to take a few seconds to say to you guys, thank you for watching this video. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you fancy it, subscribe to the channel. I will be updating more videos more regularly, hopefully on a weekly basis, maybe multiple times per week, but definitely on a weekly basis. And you can click that little bell to get notified when I do upload the next video. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Battle Nexus. The one thing that stuck out about this game was the massive opening cutscene, which goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And when you think it's over, it goes on and on and on some more. Now, I don't think you needed this much to set up a story about turtles that get teleported to a different planet via Baxter Stockman doing things with technology and making Shredder's life better by not having his enemies around so he can do his, nefarious deeds. So basically the turtles are transported to a different planet. They witness an altercation between a Triceratops and a soldier over this robot they call a professor, who they find that the robot was once a human professor whose mind was cloned into a robot. And he's developed this teleportation technology which everyone wants, and conveniently you can send the turtles home if they rescue lots of crystals from around this base and around various stages. It's your job to sneak around the various stages, defeat the enemies and collect crystals so you can go home. As a game, it's not as good as the first. I can see they were trying something new. It's still pretty decent as an action platformer, although in small doses. I would say this is an average game at best. I didn't like the fact that you've got to collect your own weapons. What on earth is that all about? It's a decent enough game, but average at best. I would definitely go for the first one over this one. Spiderman, Mysterio's Menace. Now this is definitely taken from the same continuity as the PlayStation Spider-Man games I covered in episode 1 of this series. I believe it was episode 1. So yeah, in that continuity, and I know this because the power-ups etc. are exactly the same. I played this in comparison to the film adaptation, the Spider-Man the movie adaptation on the Game Boy, and that is the far superior game. I will be covering that when we go into games based on movies. It's an okay Spider-Man game, but to be perfectly honest, by the time I reached like the 3rd level, I found myself getting bored. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. It was not enough to keep me engaged. And I would basically say if you're going to go for a Spider-Man game, I would definitely not recommend this one. I would go for one of the film adaptations because they are far superior.
Yeah, that's the way you do it.
Fear Factor. What can I say about Fear Factor? An American TV show where a bunch of men and women decide to put themselves in harm's way to win a really minute amount of money. Didn't like the show. That's not me. I'm quite squeamish when it comes to stuff like that, especially when it's like, actual stuff, which is a bit strange for someone who's part of his job is actually investigating the paranormal, but there was nothing paranormal about this, so yeah, this is just people being stupid. I can't there's basically several mini games where you're put in a ridiculous situation, like you're tied to train tracks, there's an oncoming train happening and you've got to escape in time, or you're tied to a metal plate and there's a giant axe coming down, it's going to slit you in half, and you've got to or you've got to go across a wobbly bridge that's like really really high, and it's like, is that safe? Well, it's not getting any safer. So it's a very over the top representation of the actual TV show. Is it any good? Not really, to be honest. For me, I would just say give it a miss. My goodness, there were a lot of Power Ranger games coming out on the Game Boy Advance. So we're going to go through these in quick succession. We're going to start with Power Rangers Ninja Storm. Now, Power Rangers Ninja Storm was a decent enough beat 'em up. Reminded me of an arcade beat 'em up like sort of Streets of Rage. I didn't mind it. It was a bit of fun. What I didn't enjoy about it was the Zord battles. I think the mini games, the sort of button timed mini games, really let the game down. The beat 'em up segments were okay, but other than that, I think it was probably let down by that. Decent enough beat 'em up if you're into Power Rangers Ninja Storm. Power Rangers Wild Force. Wild Force is more isometric, so you're kind of like walking across a map beating people up. It's basically still an action beat 'em up. This is more akin to a 3D action beat 'em up, even though it's kind of like 2.5D or isometric. What I did like about this was the Zord battles, but the actual levels themselves were a bit sort of devoid of actual activity. Power Rangers Time Force. It's an okay beat 'em up. It's fine for what it is, but pretty forgettable. And it's one of those games. After the first couple of levels, you find yourself getting kind of bored. SPD. Now, I would say Power Rangers SPD was one of the better games on the system. I did like the fact that you get to play as different Rangers and they get different abilities. It's probably one of the most memorable of the Power Rangers games. And I would basically say that it's worth a pick up if you enjoy a good action arcade beat 'em up game. Power Rangers Dino Thunder. I would probably say this is the best out of the lot of them because of the fact you've got varied and big levels. You haven't got too much sort of interruption, and you've got many different skills and things that you can use. SPD, Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm are very similar. I would probably say they're upgrades of the same sort of game engine. If you like the Power Rangers and you like this kind of action beat 'em up sort of type of game, it's okay for a little bit, a little bit of fun from a handheld. If you're looking for something a bit more in depth, you're probably better off with one of the Batman or TMNT games. And finally, Masters of the Universe. Now, this is based on the recreation of Masters of the Universe that came out in the early 2000s. Now, I don't really get along with isometric games, right? I don't, especially on the Game Boy Advance. I played this in emulation. I have played the actual Game Boy Advance version. On the small screen with my eyesight, I found it really hard to play. When I blew it up to the big screen, playing it through emulation, I could play it a lot better. It's not the most amazing game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not the worst. I like the fact that you have to shut down certain doors to stop enemies coming in. There's little puzzles and things to solve. Yeah, the Masters of the Universe, the graphics aren't the best, but in terms of gameplay, it's okay. It's okay. So there you have it, guys. That's 12 Game Boy Advance games based on TV shows. Episodes 5 and 6 of this series are going to follow shortly. And we also have a treasure trove of other videos coming up very, very shortly as well. I am just developing content behind the scenes to properly launch this channel in the new year, and to start bringing videos like much more regular. At the moment, I'm still in the process of recording quite a bit of footage. I'm creating an archive of footage so I can actually start putting batches of videos together, so they can be released more regularly. I want to say a really heartfelt thank you for all the support this channel has received so far. The blind football video I did has had over like 280 views at this point. The Sonic video's on 300. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, and just thank you guys for your support. This channel means a lot to me. It was made as a way of me personally healing and expressing creativity and parts of myself that I wasn't getting to express in any other way. And any feedback you guys can give, please let me know in the comment section below. I have very much enjoyed the conversations these videos have provoked, and I'm very, very grateful for the kind words of everyone who have taken the time to share them. Thank you very, very much, guys. My name is Jared. I am the Blind Gamer, and I will see you very, very shortly in another video. Take care.